So we are starting in few more seconds. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Hello everyone. A warm welcome to each one of you. I am Gaurav Dhupar, President at PMO GA India Hub, and I'm delighted to be here hosting a highly anticipated episode of PMO Insight series. This series is proudly brought to you by PMO GA India Hub, the esteemed local community of PMO Global Alliance in India. In today's engaging PMO Insight session, in collaboration with Project Management Institute, our focus will illuminate how the geopolitical uncertainties in the global paradigm are impacting the industry and economy, and what all steps we can take as professionals to overcome these challenges. We would like to thank Project Management Institute, our knowledge partners, Bajaj and Bajaj Corporate Chambers, corporate professionals, and all our supporters for making this event possible. Without any further ado, so I'll just start with the background on this session and also introduce you with the speakers. So, friends, as you know, these geopolitical shifts and rising uncertainty in the global operating environment are significantly affecting industry, projects, capital and financial markets, and the overall economy. Inflation, recession, war, climate change, trade disputes, pandemics, energy access, industrial espionage, cyber attacks have a far reaching impact on the economy. In most economies, the priority remains achieving sustained disinflation while ensuring financial stability. It's important to understand the global scenario and the impact on projects, project economy, and how to manage the ongoing and new projects more effectively and maximizing the value. Despite these geopolitical uncertainties, it's imperative to understand as to what steps can be taken to overcome and thrive in such a challenging environment. Also understand as to what is the role of resiliency and agility in a VUCA world and how to respond in an adaptive manner amidst such geopolitical uncertainty forces as these become the key skills that we need to foster to bring a far-reaching impact. There was a study done by IMF World Economic Outlook Update in July 2023, which stated that global growth is projected to fall from an estimated 3.5% in 2022 to 3% in both 23 and 24. So, to discuss these and more, we have three distinguished and highly reputed international speakers who are experts in their respective areas. The first distinguished guest speaker we have today is Ambassador Rahul Chhabra, who is the former Secretary, uh, Economic Relations at Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. He is also a strategic advisor and an independent board director. Prior to taking over as Secretary Economic Relations, Mr. Chhabra was High Commissioner to Kenya, Ambassador to Somalia, and Permanent Representative to the United Nations Environment Programme and the United Nations Human Settlements Programme based in Nairobi from 2018 to 2020. He was Ambassador to Hungary and Bosnia and Herzegovina from August 2015 to October 2018. So during his stint abroad, Mr. Chhabra has served in Kenya, Hungary, China, United States, Philippines, France, Senegal, and Belgium. While earlier serving in New Delhi, he worked to promote foreign investment flows into India, having been part of India's delegation to the World Economic Forum at Davos. Later, he served as Director for External Publicity at the Ministry of External Affairs and Director in the Foreign Secretary's Office. Ambassador Rahul Chhabra has a distinguished track record across global and local settings, including leadership roles spanning governmental, international policymaking, execution, corporate, and academic engagements. After an undergraduate degree in economics on the merit list from the prestigious St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. He obtained a graduate degree in economics with a national scholarship from the premier institute, Delhi School of Economics, and Masters in Business Administration from Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, where he was placed on the roll of honor. Welcome, Ambassador Rahul Chhabra.
Thank you.
Next,
If you want to, you're going to introduce the others? Yeah, please.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The second distinguished guest speaker with us is none other than Lenka Pincot, Chief of Staff to the CEO of Project Management Institute. So Lenka was born in Czech Republic, currently residing in Paris, France. Lenka supports the CEO and the executive team in enterprise initiative planning and execution. She heads the executive communications, culture and change, and thought leadership and content teams. She also leads the Enterprise Project Management Office and Brightline Initiative. Lenka brings extensive international experience and a proven track record in setting and executing strategic vision, digital transformation leadership, culture shifts, and enhancing organizational agility. She is highly accomplished in the practices of stakeholder and customer relationship management, leadership by influencing and facilitation, problem solving, and building high performing teams. Prior to joining PMI, Lenka held leadership roles uh, focusing on organization transformation, agile leadership, and relationship management. Most recently, Lenka served as the head of agile transformation at the leading European banks, Raiffeisen Bank and M Bank, where she defined the organization's transformation vision and strategy. Lenka holds a Master of Science in Computer Science from Charles University. She has earned a Digital Excellence Diploma from IMD Business School of Switzerland and completed the European Women in Boards C-level program. She holds international certifications from project management institutes such as PMP, PMI, PBA, and PMI ACP. Welcome, Lenka. So the third distinguished guest speaker we have with us is Mr. Pavan Vijay Kumar. Mr. Pavan Kumar Vijay is a distinguished professional with over 32 years of experience in company law, capital markets, corporate restructuring, and transaction advisory. As founder of Corporate Professionals, he leads a group of dedicated research oriented and skilled professionals delivering innovative, value added, and techno legal business solutions through a unique model of integrated legal and financial consulting services. Mr. Pavan Kumar has a track record of accomplishments in various fields. In 2003, he became one of the youngest presidents of the ICSI, Institute of Company Secretaries of India, demonstrating his leadership skills. Before founding Corporate Professionals in 2003, he served as the managing director of BLB Limited, the biggest corporate stockbroker specializing in arbitrage at that time. He has been the chairman of M&A, Mergers and Acquisition National Council of SOCHM for 5 consecutive terms and chairman Company Law and Corporate Affairs Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, besides being the member of various committees set up NSC, BSc, ANMI, etc. Mr. Vijay is a prolific speaker and has delivered over 485 plus lectures on mergers, acquisitions, and takeover, corporate governance, insolvency, competition, and securities law at various forums. And he has also authored books on company law, and which has been the bestseller. Mr. Pavan is a fellow member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India. He has done his Masters in Commerce from John's College, Agra, and law graduate from Campus Law Center, University of Delhi. Welcome, Mr. Pavan Kumar Vijay, to this session. So, with these introductions, now I would like to invite Ambassador Rahul Chhabra to share his views on this topic of great importance, impact of geopolitical uncertainty on industry and economy, and also provide insights on how to convert the geopolitical challenges into opportunities and mitigate the risks arising out of such situation. Over to you, Ambassador Rahul Chhabra.
Thank you, Gaurav. I think Gaurav has set the backdrop extremely well with his introductory remarks on what the global situation currently is. So I will try and keep my remarks short, not so that all of us can tune into the India Park match which is going on, but so that we can have more time for the Q&A session, and I look forward to a more interactive session. So taking off from one of the points that Gaurav mentioned about global growth declining from 3.5 to 3%, the part that he did not mention was that 50% of that global growth, not only for this year, but also for the coming maybe decade or so, is going to be coming from India and China. So that shows the critical role that we in India will be playing in the coming years, even though with this declining global growth figures. Just a point of context, setting the context further. Coming to the geopolitical uncertainty, corporate executives, I feel I've been meeting a lot of them over the last many years in my official role, and now I feel that they don't really always appreciate the importance in the day-to-day lives. Often it is sort of pushed onto the back burner, and we'll see. Let's it's not that critical, and let's it's put off. But this geopolitical uncertainty really has a huge impact, and it can come in many forms. Again, Gaurav mentioned many of those forms. So, what all of us as now corporate executives or people who are leading businesses need to do is to be aware of them, that they are around, be conscious, monitor the situation. In this geopolitical flux, you need to be nimble. Nimble and adaptable. So that's the basic response mechanism that you have. You can't really do too much to influence it because these are really situations sort of beyond our control, any one person's control. But we need to be able to sort of maybe anticipate it for some amount of time, all different aspects of it, and then see what is the best response from our point of view. So as Gaurav also mentioned, the VUCA world of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I mean, he again mentioned the top 5 risk areas also. So I don't want to go into more details on that. I thought I'll just give you a few examples of where I have faced this over the course of my career. And then that will give you a good feeling or an understanding of what it means, this geopolitical flux, and how it can impact. So going back a bit to the 1990s, in fact, Lenka is there from Paris, so I don't know, but whether she'll recollect at that time. I'm talking about early 1994. I was a young officer in our embassy in Dakar, and there's what is called the CFA franc. This was 14 currencies tied to the French franc, and one French franc was 50 CFA, as it was called. And that was fixed since 1948. And there was this sort of churn going on, and there was public debt, increasing. Central bank was exceeding the statutory limits. This was leading to fiscal imbalances. So finally, France just sort of struck down and suddenly devalued the currency by 50%. One French franc was now, instead of 50, it was 100 CFA. So I had to withdraw millions of French franc from my embassy bank account, keep it safe over the weekend, and next Monday morning sort of deposit it, having saved the value that of the currency that I had. So if I had not taken action within a few hours, those days, of course, you recollect there was no fax, and there was no cell phones, and there was no, there was some telex, but you were not going to get a response. So it was really a quick decision making and anticipation, and after which, by the way, for a long time, I was asked continuous questions of on whose authority I took out that money. I was a very young officer. I was the head of the office at that time. The ambassador was not in town. So sometimes the decisions have to be taken instinctively. And I was going to do it with my own money. So I said, look, if I'm going to save my own money, I should also save government money. So that was just one example I thought I'll start off with. Then coming to the 1990s, 1998, again, again, that time I was in Dakar, Senegal. Now I was in Paris, in France, and India conducted its nuclear tests. And the only major country that sort of supported us, understood our sentiment, and did not condemn us was France. So in that sense, France suddenly became a huge, important strategic partner. And despite the language, currency barriers, and all that, trade started going up with France quite considerably, thanks to their response to the 1998 nuclear tests. Then we come to 2005, 2008. I was in the United States, and we had the 123 agreement called the India-US nuclear deal. Now, it was expected that Westinghouse would get two reactors for the civil nuclear deal. It did not really happen because Toshiba, in the meantime, took over. India undertook a nuclear liability law, which was passed, and there were long issues in the approval process for even the strategic technologies that we wanted. So the business did not really pick up the way and the speed in which it was expected to pick up. I'll go to the next example I wanted to quote. China in 2011, 2012, when I was there, India was just beginning telecom sector opening up. Huawei, ZTE, should we allow this equipment to come in? We couldn't afford the Siemens and the more expensive European equipment. So we were sort of making an exception and trying to push in Huawei and ZTE from China. But there were these risks. And those geopolitical risks have now come out in the last few months and year, as you've heard, and you've seen what is happening to the Chinese telecom equipment makers and now the cell phone makers. We can discuss all this more in the Q&A. So I'm just touching upon these topics, so to just give you a sense of it. 2014, I was dealing with Turkey, and at that time, Turkish Air had 14 flights coming into India. They wanted to one flight a day to Mumbai and Delhi. They wanted to increase it to 84. So from 14 to 84 flights, Turkish Air, and Turkish Air is the widest, flying to over 200 destinations and all that. But then they were really not very helpful to us at the international fora. So I said, look, unless you sort of change your attitude, I don't think we can allow this to. So again, a geopolitical thing of how you're sort of supporting us at the UN or how you're sort of reacting to us at international fora has a huge impact on the economic sphere, which people may not even realize, which also happened also in the Air India CEO recently, last year, many of you would recollect, was a Turkish national. It was announced to take over when the Tatas took over, and then it had to be switched. And now we have another Air India CEO. Then we come to Brexit. When I was in Hungary, and a lot of Indian companies, in anticipation of Brexit, were wanting to move their European headquarters out of London. So do they go to Frankfurt? Do they go to Paris? Or do they come to a little more sort of reasonable, low-cost location like Budapest? So there was, again, a lot of geopolitical churn at that time. Where should these Indian companies relocate in terms of shifting out of London? Of course, the Russia-Ukraine war, you've seen the impact of that geopolitical uncertainty on food, fuel, fertilizers, defense supplies. You're seeing it now with the Israel-Hamas. Again, Adani Ports was affected because Haifa port is with them. Pharma companies have gone down. Tech companies are beginning to sort of relocate and maybe coming into Bangalore and Hyderabad. Last sort of point I wanted to mention is COVID. I mean, if ever there was a black swan event, I mean, that was one of them. So India started manufacturing these vaccines, and but we haven't yet. They were rolling out of the factories, but we hadn't yet put our vaccination program in position. The COVID app was not up and about. So what do we do with these vaccines now? So again, it was a big geopolitical question that how do you these vaccines are coming. I mean, they will expire in a few weeks and 2 months, 3 months, and we won't be ready to sort of roll it out systematically in India. So if you remember, there was a lot of criticism of why are we sending it to Africa, why are we sending it to Latin America, across the world, and when we have in India not even sort of begun, because there was nothing else you were going to do to it. So we got so much of goodwill because of that Vaccine My 3 program at that time. And these were all countries with a few million people. All they needed was, 10,000 doses, 20,000 doses, so they didn't need large amounts. So we gained so much of goodwill in that program, but there was a lot of domestic criticism that why are these vaccines being sent out outside India when they were not here. So in that sense, I mean, I've been also had the sort of experience of having been in where coups are taking place in Senegal or in Philippines. So all sorts of experiences. But we can discuss all this in more detail when we go into the Q&A. So on that note, I'll hand the mic back to Gaurav.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Chhabra, for giving us the global perspective. And I'm really happy that you have touched almost all the different scenarios which people could think of. And we'll be just seeing the questions also. But let me just hand it over to Lenka Pincot to share her views, how she thinks the project management, project economy, and the overall way the projects are managed are getting impacted with these geopolitical shifts. Over to you, Lenka.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, everyone. I believe that you're bringing very important and very timely topic for today's discussion. I believe that understanding global trends is very important because without understanding them, we can't get ready for what is coming next, what is coming in the future. And another thing is, and we heard so many examples from Ambassador Rahul Chhabra, that even if something happens in one part of the world, it actually influences things on way larger scale because we live in globalized and very connected world. So when I think about impact of geopolitical uncertainty, I think that a lot of that is reflected in the volatility of financial markets. And volatility of financial markets, that essentially means how market prices are moving up and down and with what frequency. Volatility of financial market is of course quite normal because markets are not stable by nature. But when we experience some geopolitical tensions, that impacts that volatility because investors react to these events, they assess the risk, and of course they deploy some hedging strategies to protect themselves from these risks. And these risks may relate to disruption of global supply chains, trade, cybersecurity risk, changes in energy prices. But all of that has a ripple effect on economy and industries. It may cause a change in monetary policies issued by central banks, and that eventually translates into risk policies that are defined by companies that need to react to that. And this, of course, influences their stability and growth. So there might be different results of geopolitical tensions on economy. One that is, of course, feared the most is a slowdown of internal investments, pausing some projects, and of course, companies also try to decrease operations costs to increase reserves in case that impact will take longer. We see when it comes to impact on industries and projects, we see, of course, that industries that are usually impacted are regulated industries. And that is because when companies operate in a regulated environment, they are mandated to factor these risks into their financial planning and account for them, which of course may increase cost of compliance or deploy many financial measures to maintain liquidity. But just to put it in some context, so one of the most known volatility measure is called it's called VIX, but people know it as fear index. And when I was checking this fear index for this week, we saw that it's somewhere between 13 and 17. But just to put it in perspective, when we would talk about March 2020, when COVID hit, that index was around 65. And that is a huge difference when we experience market shock that is caused by unexpected reality, or if we see a reaction to events that might get predicted and investors and corporations already factored these associated risks. So to summarize that, when it comes to industries and projects, geopolitical risk or tensions, they are impacting this market volatility, and that is then causing this ripple effect, how companies react to that and how are they able to deal with these risks. So now when I move from this global view to projects, so at Project Management Institute, what we follow, what we look at are trends that are essential for the project management profession itself. We follow these trends by issuing our megatrend report every 2 years. And with this report, we try to understand what are these megatrends, the global trends that are influencing projects and project management profession. So when we look at the Megatrends Report 2022, we see there are 2 trends that stay on the top. So the first one is digital disruption. And this trend, of course, represents a lot of growth opportunities, but in light of geopolitical uncertainty, we see that increasing digitalization, it also opened door for new cybersecurity risks and vulnerabilities that are caused by our dependence on connectivity, access to real data. But when we see geopolitical tensions, we know that all of that can be disrupted, and it's influencing the way how companies operate, because they need this real-time data access and connectivity. The second big trend which is influencing project management profession is climate change. I guess this is not a surprise. Climate change, again, that is area that needs a lot of concerted effort to tackle. It cannot be resolved by one activity or one nation. And from the project management standpoint, we are trying to support that bottom up. At Project Management Institute, we look at how we can incorporate different ESG measures to track the impact of projects on sustainability. We produce thought leadership content to raise awareness around this topic. We also sign up to support UN SDG, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we promote the objective across global community network by engaging people in our program, which is called Hours for Impact. And all of this bottom-up support, of course, is very needed. However, we know that bigger impact comes when we look at climate change from the top. And again, when it comes to geopolitical uncertainty or tensions, we know that to tackle climate change, it requires alliances among the key world impact players. It requires large investments and commitments from the enterprises. And again, when we experience the tensions, all of this work can be disrupted, interrupted by the conflicts, and basically delayed. There are many other trends, like 4 trends, which we follow in our Megatrends report. All of them are actually related to geopolitical impact. They are demographic shifts, economic shifts, labor shortages, or civil movements. So when we work on our research, we monitor all of that. And what we try to do is to provide project managers and companies with guidance, how to prepare for these, how to deal with these, and how to translate them in strategic risk management. So then, and Gaurav, you mentioned impact on on project economy. So project economy, that is essentially a shift when problems and issues are handled by project teams instead of teams with narrow expertise. So we basically, in project economy, look at projects as initiatives that are there to create value. And that means that we need to put together teams that are cross-functional, oftentimes global, if we want to approach larger objectives or global objectives. And for this, we also need to ensure their security on site. We need to ensure efficiency in remote work. So again, when we look at that issues that I was talking about and how geopolitical risks are impacting connectivity, vulnerability, cybersecurity, but also physical security, all of that, of course, is impacting also the way how we manage these global and large projects. So not to talk only about all the risks and everything that we need to factor in, I was thinking to close my input by some takeaways and some advice how we can look at these geopolitical tensions and risk from other angle. So one thing, it is very ambitious idea, but one thing how we can think how to deal with this geopolitical risk is to think about anti-fragility. That is essentially ability to benefit from shocks and disruption, get even stronger. Sounds very ambitious because when we experience some shocks and disruption, usually we just try to protect ourselves. But the concept of anti-fragility is about embracing these risks and basically get ready for them. A couple of strategies that companies, enterprises can use to enforce their anti-fragility, such as having backups, decentralized decisions, decentralize your workforce, diversification of your portfolio and multi-skilling, so that if some parts of your company are impacted, that you have the skills that you need in other parts of the companies, of these skills. Of course, anti-fragility is not same it's not easy to achieve it in all industries. Some industries are better fit for that. Some industries are much more dependent on the infrastructure, so it's different. But overall, anti-fragility requires constant innovation. It requires culture of moving forward, adapting, experimenting. And when it comes to projects, it means that project managers need to understand big picture, need to have very good business acumen, global view, and need to embrace this uncertainty. It also helps if they work with agile project management portfolio. So then the second thing that you can do if you can't achieve this anti-fragility is to work on your resilience. So resilience, that is ability to prepare and respond to that shock by preventing damage, but you don't necessarily grow for that. It's more like you sustain that shock. So this is, for instance, very important for any regulated industries to have this resilience. So again, there are multiple strategies that can be put in place on the side of project management, on the side of corporations, and that is essentially strategic risk management, business continuity plans, diversification of key vendors, suppliers, materials, and maintaining strong financial health. So there is, when we talk about resilience and regulated industries, it's a lot about reviewing risk evaluation, structure, and discipline. So, and then what is the impact on project work? We do not embrace risks that much, but rather we work on risk awareness, risk reporting, financial management and discipline, procedures, and of course, dealing with multiple governance stakeholders and frameworks that needs to be put in place. So as I'm here from the Project Management Institute, I would encourage you to check our reports. I hope that this will be useful for you. One of the latest that we released recently is exactly about strategic risk management. So I would be waiting for your questions in Q&A, and at this moment, I would hand it over back to Gaurav.
Thank you so much, Lenka, for the insightful views. So I really loved the points related to fear index, then the anti-fragility part, and how the risk evaluation structure can be built up. So we have questions coming in between. Maybe before moving on to Mr. Pavan, Kumar, Vijay, I'll just request Ambassador Rahul, Chhabra, and Lenka to take up a few of the questions which are coming in between. Maybe we can start with this one. How do businesses and governments prepare for and mitigate the risk associated with geopolitical uncertainties? So, any one of you, Lenka or Ambassador Chhabra, you want to take it up?
If I may, if Lenka allows me
Yeah.
to start, yeah. You know, I mean, the preparation is really in the people that you have who can sort of identify. Firstly, like the Israel-Hamas war. I mean, nobody could really see it coming, or the Ukraine conflict. I mean, unless you're in Putin's mind. I mean, or COVID. So these things happen. So anticipating this is a little more like, but the currency devaluation, as I mentioned, you could probably sort of see it happening. But something like COVID, you can't see it happen. Climate change, you can see it happening. So it's a geopolitical risk and a climate change. And you can sort of try and see how to answer. So there are two categories here. One which you can't see at all. I mean, it's a black swan event. It just happens. You know, Russia moves into Ukraine, or this Hamas attacks Israel, that thing, or COVID. The others are like climate change. You know, so there are two categories here. And then how you prepare for it is really that you have people there who have sort of seen these things happen before and can sort of now sort of project a bit that what will happen in the next 3 months, 6 months. Is this thing likely to play out long term? Can think a little beyond the immediate, today and tomorrow. And then you start making your strategies. So first you need somebody who's able to understand and sort of, appreciate that, where is it going? Where is this heading? So if I can, if Lenka wants to add in, I don't know if she wants to add to this.
Yeah, thank you. I would speak maybe for that part of question where it says, how do businesses? So I will not speak for governments, but for businesses. And I fully agree with what was said a few minutes ago, because the thing is that there are some risks that you can see and some risks that you don't. However, in my practice, what I experienced that even if we are aware that there are some risks, this is still far away from preparing for that. I think that by nature, we underestimate some risks, or maybe we are sometimes too consumed by daily operations that we do not invest our thinking and our resources in preparing for these risks. Also, risk by nature, we only predict them with certain probability, but we never cannot be sure. So no one, I guess, is rich that to that extent that you would be able to prepare for all the risks that are coming. However, what I would recommend is really to divide the time for the leadership of these companies and dedicate time to deal with these long-term, impactful yet uncertain risks. Because there are strategies that you can deploy to get ready, even if you don't know what is coming exactly. A good example is, for instance, IT infrastructure. So we all need it, even if we are not IT companies. Nowadays, no one can survive without proper infrastructure and digital platforms and all of that. So there's a huge difference if you maintain this infrastructure physically somewhere or if you maintain it in cloud. I know that there was a certain period of time where there was also risk associated with cloud and a little bit uncertainty with that, and people were not sure if it's really a good idea or not. But now we know it is a good idea to move to cloud. And once you do that, you mitigate that risk that your physical infrastructure might be disrupted. The same thing when it comes to workforce. It's all about diversification and multi-skilling, because if we again depend on one scarce resource which is located somewhere physically, and then this resource is disrupted, we can't replace it or complement that resource quickly. So that's why we need to be prepared for that. So it's all about how we develop that organizational agility, which means ability to react when something happens, to reshuffle resources, refocus. And these are things that companies, in my opinion, should work on long term, because when that happens and you are not prepared for this in terms of organizational agility, it's very difficult to do anything. Then you basically just scramble.
Fantastic insights. So before moving on to further questions, I'll just now hand it over to Pavan Kumar Vijay sir for his insightful views. We have a lot of questions coming up, but we can take once he completes. Okay, over to you, Mr. Pavan Kumar Vijay.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you very much. After the two learned speakers, they are speaking on this particular subject. They are expert and they know the things, because Ambassador Rahul, you can understand the way he has experienced and the way he has told the nitty-gritties. It's very thoughtful and insight. Friends, as you know, geopolitical, it is the definition comes to relating to international politics and various geographical factors. Now, it is unpredictable always. It is always talking about the instability between different countries, between government and their policies. It is always complex, and it brings volatility, and this volatility always affect mostly to business. As you are aware, that who is the main culprit of geopolitical instability? It is business. You take example. If I'm just starting that, what are the reason of geopolitical? So there is a conflict and tension of territorial dispute, which India and Kashmir, China and Taiwan, Russia and Ukraine we are seeing. Political instability is like Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, Iraq, Haiti, Sudan. We have so many examples. Economic sanction like US and put in sanction to Iran, North Korea, Cuba, EU has given Russia because of Ukraine war, and various other countries. Trade dispute between US and China, US and EU, US and Canada, US and India, relating to agriculture and other matter. Now, there is some military conflict also is going on. Global power shift, US to Russia, Russia to China, and diplomatic relationship is creating a problem. You will see that the interplay of this political thing is political, social, and economic factor. Because sometimes government change, policy change. Sometimes any new things is coming, then it is affecting. So who is the main culprit and who is the main responsible person, or in the entire world, we have seen the business is suffering the most. And sometime I was reading a book where they are saying for international politics, international geopolitics, it is always imperfect, it is complex. So he was saying it, don't discuss, let it be. Like just now, Mr. Rahul was mentioning that you have two types of probability of problems. One is known, what is unknown. Corona was unknown. These Hamas and the Israel war is knowing, but it was not like this. So it is happening. So now you have seen this, that this is impacting and this is a complex situation. So let you face when the situation comes. Now the point is, all these things which are connected to the geopolitical problem in the world, what are the impact on the business and industry? Supply chain disruption is taking place. Import-export restriction is taking place. Market accessibility, because you are restricting, so you cannot enter into another market, which we have seen in the UK and UE dispute also. Now, economic consequences which are taking place, first is the currency fluctuation is taking place. Then inflation is going up. Decreasing investor confidence, that is another aspect, because sometimes if your policies are not stabilized and you think that the investor thinks that here the entire thing is fragile, they will not invest and market will be more volatile. Statistics shows that whenever there's a downtrend has taken place because of these things. We have seen 2008 financial crisis, we have seen COVID-19, and we have seen various war which has taken place in the market, in the entire world. Now, the most affecting thing is financial market and capital market. In financial market, first is interest rate fluctuation, investor behavior is changing, and then capital market, which is facing the most consequences and most. So first is the market is too much volatile. Any politics, any war, any election, any other dispute, the market is going up and down. Then it creates the investor confidence at the lowest. Then people shift asset allocation when there's a market is volatile. Then they invest from safe asset like gold bond in place of equity market. So equity market affects like this. Then corporate decision making is also postponed. Now some corporate wants to invest money, create a capital investment in its country, but in other country also it is taking a just wait and watch. Currency fluctuation is taking place. So all MNC which are investing in any country, they are also affecting, and they are also wait because their fluctuation will affect the more. Commodity price is going up, government policy is affecting. So entire thing, and the most important thing, investor confidence and shifting the money. So these are the some issues which are affecting stock market and the financial market because of this. Foreign direct investment, that was my topic also. It is impacting the most, because what is happening if geopolitical thing is unstable, then FDI is not coming. We have seen the example of Venezuela. When there is a conflict was going on, then the investors were not coming and they were shifting money from this country to another country. And because all foreign investors, they see risk and reward. So they see that this is unstable economy, they will shift from some other stable economy, whether they are getting less income or their return is less. Then consequently, the host and home countries both are facing problem. So we have seen this this type of problem which is connecting to directly FDI. Now question is, all these problems are there, all these issues are there. What are the mitigating? And these were the questions somebody has asked also. So first mitigating factor is you must diversify. Don't invest all eggs in one basket. That is applicable to the investment portfolio, that applicable to investment portfolio in other part of the world. So you have to see that how you can divide your diversified portfolio in different countries. Then scenario planning. So scenario planning is you must watch that what is happening. So you have to visualize that how you can analyze, how you can see this. Then political risk assurance. So sometime you have a business, you must focus that how you can go for political risk assessment. Then adaptability. Now this adaptability is that there is a problem relating to this changing geopolitical, which I was saying. It will take place. So let it be. So you have to understand that if you are investing in another part of the world, you must realize that this adaptability concept has to come. Then somebody is saying that how to do this. So geopolitical risk assessment is always there. So you must analyze the risk assessment. You must have the tools and approaches which follow that what is happening. And the best example is that unknown thing you cannot do, but known thing you can do. Even in unknown thing, Corona has come. It has come suddenly, but impact was there. So people have changed their policy. People have changed their entire work style. And the role of geopolitical intelligence, that is also important. You should not sit idle or see this that I have invested, I can't move it. You have to move if you see the overall calculation, or you have to wait on what. So all these things affecting the market, the geopolitical things which is coming to business, and the most important thing which I was just mentioning, anything is happening geopolitical, the capital market and FDI flying is first, volatility first, market loss is first, investor confidence losing is first. So these are my take on these things. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pavan Kumar Vijay, for the insightful views. I loved the diversification and adaptability part. Of course, you touched upon the consumer behavior, market volatility, currency fluctuation, but I think these two things are really, really important. And I think Lenka and Ambassador Chhabra will also agree to these points, how the resiliency, adaptability and diversification helps in mitigating these risks. So we have a lot of questions coming up, but I'll just share these questions on the screen. So we'll take a few questions from the project management side, from the business side also. So there was one question coming up, Lenka, maybe for you. Would you like to just address this? How can project managers stay tuned to the platforms, forums which focus on climate changes to proactively introduce necessary measures to ensure the products are compatible with the global standards?
Right. So thank you, Cecilia. This is a very good question. So I would recommend the first thing is to stay informed about the development of the ESG topic in general. And then what we are doing, for instance, on our side as Project Management Institute, we launched ESG Hub that is part of our thought leadership work and research that we provide for free to the community. It's on our website. So when you approach this ESG Hub, then you will find resources specifically designed for project managers that help you to incorporate some of the measures in your projects. The purpose of these measures is not to necessarily change objectives of your projects. It's there really to open up for that thinking that even if we as project managers are delivering something, some scope, we follow some objective, we can and we should think at the same time how this initiative is impacting or is, let's say, neglecting some of the ESG overall objectives. So with this help of thinking about this measure, we can actually predict if there is some impact that needs to be taken into consideration, and we can use this knowledge, this insight to talk to the managers, to the leaders of the company to highlight it and say, hey, there is something coming, so maybe if we adjust a little bit, then we would be better prepared for what comes in future. But these are methods, these are tools. But overall, I would say the key is to stay informed, to follow these trends, and dedicate your time to understand what is coming, so that you can already focus on little things in your project and be better prepared.
Thank you so much, Lenka. There is one more question coming up. What role does diplomacy and international cooperation play in mitigating the potential negative effects of geopolitical conflicts on the global economy? Maybe Ambassador Chhabra or Pavanji, you would like to take it up.
I think the Mr. Chhabra is the best person to give this answer
No.
because we are in the corporate world. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it plays a very important role. I mean, diplomacy, and because after the geopolitical conflict begins, diplomacy comes into play. As you see, even today with the Hamas and all that, there are a lot of back channel diplomacy going on. Even in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, there's lots of back channel things, even which, of course, some you're hearing about in the press. But let me assure you, there's a lot more than what is going on in the press, even, obviously, because the press is not fully informed about every move that is taking place. And all this is after years and decades of sort of linkages. So this is not just, you can't just pick up the phone and call up some person easily. I mean, so these are all bridges which have been built by diplomats and international cooperation between the countries, the leaders. So all that comes into play when events like this come out, to sort of soften the impact, dampen the impact, try and resolve the issue to the best possible outcome for both sides. So there's lots of that going on in the background all the time. So it plays an extremely critical role.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Chhabra. Then there is one more question, interesting question coming up. How do investors' sentiments and financial markets react to geopolitical crisis, and what implications does this have on the broader economy?
Okay.
Maybe Mr.
Let's
Pavanji,
take this.
it's for you.
Yeah. So the point is, which I told you, the geopolitical effect or any problem, it is coming first and hit the capital market because the stock market is working ahead of the time. So there is a dispute going on with Hamas and Palestine. The market is realizing that what will be the impact. So they discount, and this is always the capital market is far ahead than the normal situation which is taking place. They discount in advance. So the geopolitical issue, whenever it is coming, it is affecting the most. And the impact is that investor which are there, because if the market is going down, all these people are selling. And when they are selling, they are booking the losses. And when they are booking losses, their capacity to reinvest is going down. And then sometime what is happening, you are investing money on the basis of the margin money. So and sometimes you are investing when the market is going up on the basis of borrowing money. It is affecting very badly. And this is a cycle. When the market is going down, no new capital will come, no new economic development will take place. So these are the cycle, and this is affecting very badly. Economy, financial market reacts slowly, capital market fast, and then the economy is going, and then the FDI and investor, the foreign investor, when they are going out and they are selling, it is double impact on the economy because they want to keep money safe, but other people are facing. So it is a cycle which is there, and it is affecting the most to the economy as well as market.
Thank you, Mr. Pavan. Then there is a next question, maybe for Lenka. In the current political situation driven by COVID impact to the rising inflation, to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war and Israel-Hamas war, what are the challenges that project managers need to bear in mind to successfully manage the delivery of projects? How can they assess the risk? What is the recommended risk mitigation strategy? So there are three questions.
Yeah, so I will try to answer, and I will take it from the end. So risk mitigation strategies and how to assess risk. I believe we actually talked about that during this speech a lot. We talked about the importance of diversification, but diversification, that does not only mean if you have diverse product portfolio, that really means also diversification in terms of how do you cultivate your key talents, key resources. When I believe it was Mr. Ambassador Rahul Chhabra who said, maybe Mr. Pavan, Kumar, I'm not sure, who said, don't put all your eggs in one basket. This relies to everything, your talents, your key resources. When you operate in manufacturing, it's about materials, about your suppliers. And I like really the point about diplomacy, because when it comes to these big strategic risks, it's not possible to achieve significant impact overnight. So when it comes to risk mitigation and we talk about diversify your suppliers, that means that you need to develop these relationships over time, over a long time. Because when companies get in trouble, everyone gets in trouble. So you need to have these relationships to have priority when it comes to your supply of materials, etc. When it comes to your talents, you need to be able to attract the talents. You cannot just achieve that overnight. So that when it comes to risk. But when we talk about project managers, what I learned throughout my career always is that if you want your project to be successful, you as a project manager, you need to understand the big picture and fight the right battles. Because when things start happening, priorities are changing. And then the primary objective of project manager should be to look at their project, how this project can help the company the most at the moment of crisis. So it's not about trying to achieve whatever was scoped before if it's not helping anymore. When it comes to, we talked about that these geopolitical risks, they have impact, for instance, on cybersecurity, on the infrastructure, etc. So some of the IT projects will be prioritized. But even if you work in different area of a company, maybe you can rescope your project, you can reprioritize the activity so that you actually contribute to these initiatives which have higher priority. That is what I mean by this understanding big picture. And basically, when it's a time for crisis, it's all hands on deck.
Fantastic. So fighting the right battles, I think that is the most important point which we need to understand. Thank you so much, Lenka. There is one more question coming up. Is there a formal communication channel between Indian missions, consulates to keep Indian businesses aware of such risk events pre or post happening of an event? Maybe Ambassador Rahul Chhabra can take this question.
Yeah, there's no formal communication channel, but there's a very active informal channel. I mean, many of these things cannot be formalized and have structural sort of, because it's an evolving situation and things are changing so rapidly. But informally, ambassadors and consul generals and all are in close contact with businesses, with the local political leadership. So messages are being passed back and forth, feelings, trends, perspectives are being exchanged pretty much, on you have lunch someday, you have dinner another day, you're meeting over drinks some other day. So this is a very free-flowing, rapid, sort of evolving anytime. So this flow of information, there is no formal structural thing in that. And by the way, since you've raised this issue, I think many businessmen don't appreciate or understand maybe the importance of sort of when they go in first new to any country, to go and meet the ambassador, meet the commercial officer, commercial counselor, because those guys have been there for 2-3 years. They sort of have a good ground feel. So it's not only when you lose your passport or you have a visa issue that you go to the embassy or the consulate, but there are lots of other insights that the ambassador and the consular can give. So it's always good to go there, meet them, and get that sense that you are looking for.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you, Ambassador Chhabra. So we still have 2 more minutes. We can take one more question. Last question. Are there any industries or sectors that tend to benefit from the geopolitical uncertainty, and what can we learn from these cases about finding opportunities amid turmoil? So who wants to take it up?
No, this is a market question, and it is always
Sure.
interesting. I'll tell you. Uh, I started with this point that geopolitical situation is complex, and it brings so much uncertainty. But simultaneously, we have seen these uncertainty bring innovation, and this innovation brings. Today, we are doing webinar on this channel. And now you have seen the Zoom meetings are taking place. So Lenka is from some other part, and Rahul Chhabra is other part, and we are also having every week webinar across the country. So this is one change which has taken place. So I have seen that whenever something is coming, the new opportunity comes. So all problems bring some new things. Like ESG concept which Lenka was mentioning, Now ESG is a new concept people are doing, but this ESG is bringing new innovation. So now, after the startup concept across the world, we have realized that all these problems are creating new opportunity, new innovation. So don't bother about this. The system automatically adjusts and creates it. We are the human being. We don't. Now we have a AI also with us, so we can put it that this is our thing and this is situation what to do. So you can get various ideas, various new things, and we'll do. And I always prefer all these problems are coming with solution.
Absolutely.
And if there is no solution visible, the human will create solution for this, which we have seen in Corona. You have seen the entire world is changing because of Corona problems. So it will take.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pavanji, for your insightful views. Now I'll just hand it over to Sri for doing the vote of thanks. We are almost at the top of our hour.
Yeah,
Over to you,
thank you
Sri.
so much. Thank you so much, Gaurav. Thank you so much, Pavanji, for taking up those questions. Hey, I am Sri Sudarshan, the Director of Communications of PMOGA India Hub. On behalf of PMOGA India Hub, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Ambassador Rahul Chhabra, Pavan Kumar Vijay ji, and Lenka Pincot. And it has been a truly enriching session, I would say. A lot of questions coming up. There had been like amazing responses towards that from the guests. It is a wonderful session which spoke about impacts of geopolitical uncertainty on industry and economy. We would like to thank the Project Management Institute for collaborating with us and the PMA chapters along with the institutions who have supported this session through their participation. Big thank you to our knowledge partners, Bajaj and Bajaj Corporate Chambers, Corporate Professionals, and PMO Global Alliance for their kind support. Your support has made this event a resounding success, and we look forward for future collaborations. In case if you have any questions, please write to us at indiahub@community.pmoga.world. And I thank you all for taking your time on a Saturday for your valuable contribution and participation today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you
evening.
all.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Good
Thank
seeing
you,
you,
buddy.
Lenka.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.